Welcome back, everyone. This is Teddy Davis from sportscapping.com. The other day, I just released my college football win totals, and now today I'll be going over my 2019 NFL win totals. Let's get right into it here. I'll be ranking these from my fifth best to the first. So starting off with number 5, I'll be going with the Rams under 10.5. This is a team coming off a 13-3 season and a Super Bowl appearance, and now we have to see how they handle that success. And generally in the past, the Super Bowl loser, outside of the Patriots, the next year tends to not go as well. I still expect them to be a good team. I just don't see the ball bouncing their way, every single time this season. 5 of their first 8 games last season were one-possession games. They came away from those winning each one of them. And that kind of got things jump-started for them into a great season. They are a little thin on the defensive line, and granted, they still have some playmakers on the defensive line, but they did lose Sue. They can't afford another injury on that front. And they were obviously really good last year with the number 2 total offense and number 4 in turnover differential. Both of those numbers will tend to decline, regress back to the mean here a little bit. We also know that this division, with a healthy Jimmy G and now Kyler Murray on the Cardinals, it is a lot stronger. So those 6 games aren't necessarily cupcakes for them. Excuse me. Outside division, they also get tested big time here. Let's look at just the road games they have. They go at Carolina, at Cleveland, at Pittsburgh, at Dallas, and not to mention, the division road games as well. Going 5-3 in those 8 road games would be great if they could absolutely do that. But I think that is the best case scenario, and I don't see it happen. More likely 4-4, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was worse than that. I do think they do well at home, but let's remember they don't have a great home field advantage here either. I don't see them going 11-5, which is what they have to do to be this year. I feel this team has a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover effect. 10-6, I think, is the best case for this team. And if that's the case, then that'll be a win for us. Number 4, I'm going with the Vikings over 9. I actually found a 8.5 here in town that I'd have in my pocket, but most places are 9, so we're going to go with that number. I'm high on this Vikings team here this season for a huge bounce back. Last year they finished 8-7-1, which was considered, a down year, bad for them. I understand most people aren't too high on Cousins, but you can't ignore the fact of how many explosive weapons he has around him with Diggs, Thielen, and Cook. I think major part of their struggles was because the OC at that time, DeFilippo, he just wasn't, calling the right game plan. He kind of abandoned Cook there for a while, and to have those type of players on offense and only finished ranked 20th. That wasn't very good, and I think that will clearly get better this year. They also returned 10 starters on defense. I think they'll be very good. The turnover differential, which they were one of the teams that was even across the board, 0. So I think that actually changes for the better. I love their home schedule here. I wouldn't be shocked if they went 7-1, but let's just say, for our sake, let's just say they slip up another one, go 6-2 at home, which I definitely think it's possible. All we need is them to go 3-5 on the road for a push. I also think that the Bears take a step back in this division. I'll get to them here in a little bit. I'm not a fan of the Lions either, so I really have high hopes for this Vikings teams, and I think over 9, worst case here on a bad season, in my opinion, is a push. We'll take the over 9. Number 3, we're going with the Ravens under 8.5. Lamar Jackson last year, we all know he really came onto the scene, uh, emerged and caught most people by surprise. I think now, there's plenty of tape out on him, and they can adapt to his style of play. The Ravens finished 6-1 with him, and I think that's why he's getting a little bit of respect here. Um, but I just don't see it. Of those games that they played, only one of those teams were at the end of the stretch. They're only one of those teams were a playoff team. They eventually ended up losing to that team, which was the Chargers at home in the first round. I think they'll be taking a huge step back here on defense. They had the number one total defense, number one scoring defense, and now they lost their whole linebacking crew, and they lost the heart and soul, I think, and Terrell Suggs, who's out in Arizona now. That was the glue to that defense, in my opinion, here. And it's just hard to repeat those numbers, right? Especially when you lose that many key pieces, from that side of the ball. And now looking at, I'm just not a fan of the weapons Lamar has around him. And, as I mentioned, I think he caught people by surprise and then benefited greatly, from that superior defense. I think they're honestly the third best team in that division, behind Pittsburgh and behind Cleveland. And I don't see them winning 9 games. They do benefit out of the gates, I would say, from playing at Miami and then hosting Arizona the first 2 weeks. But it gets tougher from there. 4 of the next 5 being Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Seattle. 3 of those are on the road. I think they lose all 3 on the road. I'm only giving them 2 road wins. That's week 1 at Miami. They are short favorites in that game, and you never know. Anything could really happen, and I also wouldn't be shocked if they did slip up there. The other road win, I'll give them is Cincy. And that won't be easy as well, since it is a division game. The others, I just don't think they have a shot in. If they go 2-6 on the road, that means they have to go 7-1 at home. They still face 3 teams in that division, along with Houston, New England, the Jets, and the Niners. I just think it's going to be an upward hill battle here for the Ravens all season. Under 8.5. I really like it. Excuse me. Number 2, we're going to go with the Texans under 8.5. This Texans team, in my opinion, they were one of the luckiest teams last year in the league. Coming off an 11-5 season, there's no doubt in my mind there are going to be a lot of people playing this over because of that 11-5 season. But I think by the odds makers, it's actually gone down. It's at 8 a lot of places now, or most places. You can still, if you shop around, you can still get 8.5. But I think that's sharp money telling you what they think of this team. They started off 0-3, rounded off 9 straight. They were 5-0 during that stretch in 1-possession games, which was huge for them. And you've heard me mention it several times here, but the turnover differential, a lot of that is luck throughout the season. And they were plus 13 in that category last year, which was number 1 in the league. That's not going to be the case. That isn't going to repeat itself. Another huge part is for the under here is I like this division. Right now, the Colts, this luck situation is kind of getting a little iffy, I will say. I don't think we're getting the full truth from them. If he is, this is obviously based on if he is healthy and good to go, but the Colts already have better. I think the Jags are going to be vastly improved this season with Foles. And the Titans I'm not high on by any means, but they aren't really pushovers either. They do have a great defense. And then let's just look at their first 9 games that the Texans have to play. It's a brutal, brutal stretch here. So at New Orleans, host Jacksonville. At Chargers, host Carolina. Atlanta, at KC. At Indy, host Oakland. Jacksonville again in London. I don't have them winning any of those first 4 road games, and in my opinion, they won't sweep Jacksonville. So best case, I have them starting 4-5, and that is, that's giving them wins over Atlanta and Carolina at home, which I think both will be coin flips at best. You can clearly see how tough it is for them to go 5-2, down the stretch here with the last 7 in order to beat us. And they still have 3 more road games in that case, along with they host the Patriots as well. I just don't see it happening from the Texans this year. While they do have a lot of firepower, and DeAndre Hopkins has been a stud. I'm just not sold on this team this season. And for my number 1 NFL win total on play this year, the Bears under 9.5. The Bears really came out of nowhere for the most part without rookie QB Mitchell Trubisky by going 12-4. I'm sorry, but no one is going to convince me right now that Trubisky is exactly the answer. Another huge reason for their success was on defense. They ranked number 3 overall. They were number 1 in the NFC in nearly every category. They had a crazy run. They had 27 interceptions, 50 sacks. There's no way they are going to repeat those numbers here either. Those are just insane. In my opinion, they're playing in a very tough division here, especially given the fact that you have Aaron Rodgers coming back healthy for the Packers. I think they go 3-3 at best here in the division. And, they draw – another part of the reason here is the schedule. They draw some tough opponents out of the division. They draw Kansas City, Dallas, Philly, Chargers, Rams, New Orleans, Denver. They do get a lot of those at home, but they still won't win all those as well. I just think it's crazy that before last season of 12 wins, the Bears had combined for 14 wins the previous three years, and now, are asked to be backing it up with another double-digit win season. I don't see it happening. I love the Bears under this season. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great football season. I will be doing this as well throughout with free picks with college and pros every week. I'll be back next week here for the college slate. So we're getting down to the wire here. Everyone have a good weekend.